It is set to become the spacecraft that takes humans to an asteroid and eventually Mars. But before that, in 2018, NASA's Orion capsule will fly 43,000 miles beyond the Moon and back in a vital test of its systems. Now, in a step towards that goal, its manufacturer Lockheed Martin says it has installed Orion into something known as the birdcage. This is its structural assembly tool and will be used by engineers in Florida to test and outfit the spacecraft ahead of its launch in 2018. The structure shown here is 500 pounds lighter than its Exploration Flight Test 1, F1, counterpart, said Mike Hawes, Lockheed Martin Orion Vice President and Program Manager. Once the final structural components such as longerons, bolts, and brackets are added, total crew module structural weight savings from F1 to M1 will total 700 pounds. The Orion spacecraft arrived in Florida on Monday on NASA's massive Super Guppy aircraft, which has a 156 feet wingspan. At the Kennedy Space Center, the crew module will undergo several tests to ensure the structure is perfectly sound before being integrated with other elements of the spacecraft. First, it will undergo proof pressure testing where the structural welds are stress tested to confirm it can withstand the environments it will experience in space. The team will then use phased array technology to inspect the welds to make sure there are no defects. Additional structural tests will follow, including proof pressure testing of the fluid system welds followed by X-ray inspections. Once the crew module passes those tests, it will undergo final assembly, integration, and entire vehicle testing in order to prepare for M1, when Orion is launched atop NASA's Space Launch System, SLS, for the first time. The test flight will send Orion into lunar distant retrograde orbit, a wide orbit around the Moon that is farther from Earth than any human-rated spacecraft has ever traveled. It will be controlled remotely as it flies 43,000 miles, 70,000 kilometers, beyond the Moon. The mission will last about 3 weeks and will certify the design and safety of Orion and SLS for future human-rated exploration missions. In December, a video released by NASA revealed exactly how Orion's first major trip into space in 2018 will unfold. The video shows how the spacecraft will extend solar arrays measuring 62 feet, 19 m, once it reaches low Earth orbit to help provide power for the spacecraft. It will then set course for the Moon by firing its interim cryogenic propulsion stage, ICPs, a liquid oxygen-liquid hydrogen-based system which has never been used before. Orion will then perform a flyby of the Moon, harnessing the satellite's gravity to gain speed and propel itself to what is called distant retrograde orbit, DRO, thousands of miles beyond the Moon and almost 500,000 km from Earth. The craft will then burn its main engine, a maneuvering system left over from the defunct Space Shuttle program, to leave the DRO and head back. On its return trip, Orion will do another flyby of the Moon and start approaching Earth. Just outside Earth's atmosphere, the crew capsule will detach from the service module and other parts of the craft, before initiating re-entry and splashing down in the Pacific Ocean. In this final part of the 3-week-long trip, as shown in the video, the capsule will be ensured a safe landing by 3 parachutes. NASA has been conducting several parachute tests over the last months. In August, it even dropped a capsule model attached to some purposefully flawed parachutes in the middle of the Arizona desert. The simulated botch was intended to test whether the crew module would survive in case of parachute malfunctioning. In fact, despite the parachutes failing, Orion landed gently on the desert floor. As part of the test, engineers also studied a change to the risers, which connect the parachutes to the vehicle from steel to a textile material, as well as the use of lighter weight suspension lines for several of the parachutes. Luckily, even if the parachutes were to eventually fail, nobody would get hurt in Exploration Mission 1's unmanned capsule. However, in April 2023, NASA expects to conduct Exploration Mission 2, following the same route but carrying 4 crew members. A third mission planned for 2026 will use a manned spacecraft to land on a small asteroid previously captured with a robotic arm. From there, things can only get bolder. Orion was conceived as the craft that would enable humans to finally explore Mars in the 2030s.